We got a comment recently on one of our YouTube videos that says that churches should spend less time worrying about growth and pastors need to not even concern themselves with it. Well, I want to unpack that question a little bit and tell you why I think church growth still should matter. And we're going to do that along with a few other hot takes in this episode. Let's do this. Well, hey guys, I'm Thomas.
And I'm Ian.
And today we are digging into the ReachRight Mailbag, your questions that you asked us, feedback, comments, remarks, and wisecracks even, I would say. We want to respond to some of them individually. So thank you guys for being a part of the ReachRight family. We're going to dig into some of them. The main question today, and the most controversial one, is it wrong for churches to want to see growth? We're going to dig into that a little bit. But I don't know, Ian, why don't you kick us off with the first question, man?
I will, and I like this one. But we did get a question here. It was intriguing from at Frank Soros 3 weeks ago. And he said, in response to a post we put out, how small churches can explode in their growth in 2025, he said, if you think that growth is the goal, you don't know much about God.
Yeah,
bold,
so there's
strong statement.
Bold statement,
yes.
Frankosaurus. I appreciate that. Thank you for chiming in. I mean, I agree and disagree. So I do believe, and I think what Frankosaurus is saying. I love that his name is Frankosaurus, by the way.
I added it's Franksaurus, but
Franksaurus. Okay.
But I like Frankosaurus.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you, Frank, if that's your actual name. Forgive me. No, I agree in that growth in and of itself should never be a church's primary goal, because what that is that's just pride, is what that comes down to. That's pastoral pride. And that's something that I absolutely wrestle with. I think all of us, if we're being really honest, this is something that pastors are often challenged by. And you need to keep that in check. And by you as pastors, I need to keep that in check. My own pride when it comes to what my church's size, what that says about me, what that says about who I am, my ability, how much God loves me. That's all such warped, wrong thinking that if church growth, it is just kind of a measure of that. I agree. You're greatly misunderstanding God and what his plan is for you and what he wants to do with you, and that you are a follower of his first and a pastor second.
Right.
All of that being said, I would say that church growth should at the same time be a goal, because when we're talking about church growth, we're talking about real people that have real souls that matter to God. And when we are reaching more people are added to their number daily. That's kind of the standard we see in Scripture. That is something I think that is to be aspired to. We should want to see that. I believe that God rejoices when individual people come to faith in Jesus, get involved, get into discipleship, grow closer,
and then invite others to come to what God is doing at the local church level. Yep.
Exactly. So all of those things are good, and they're things that we should aspire to. And so I think, and the why we exist, and this is kind of no holds barred here. This is what we do at ReachRight, is we are a organization that helps churches reach more people and grow. So we are about helping churches grow. And I truly believe that is something that matters to God. Yeah. We see it mattering in Scripture. It mattered to Paul. It mattered to the apostles. They wanted to see more people coming in. Now, does that mean that we, change everything and sacrifice everything for the goal of growth? No. Growth is something that healthy organizations will do. And so I pretty firmly believe that it's something that we should be setting ourselves up for. Now, so back to the idea of what we do here is we help churches do that. And I think it's a matter of stewardship. It's kind of, I see the parable of the talents in this quite a bit also. We have been given, as church leaders and pastors, we have been given stewardship over the churches that we lead.
Yep.
They are not our churches. They are Jesus'
Right.
churches. He is the cornerstone that they're built on. He is the one who will build the church. That is what he tells Peter. It'll be build it on the rock that is Peter. But we're just the stewards of this. And so what our assignment is to do is to take what we're stewarding and manage it well. And if we do that by doing some of the things we talked about in that video, we can steward that well. And I think God will say something to the effect of, well done, my good and faithful servant, if we do that. We remember in that story that when the wicked and lazy servant who buries the talents, that he is rebuked by the Lord because he could have at least given it to bankers and he would have seen interest on it. He would have seen some kind of growth. I think the same thing applies to us in the church world, is like we are supposed to be seeing growth in the thing that we are managing for the Lord. I think that should be one of our goals. Is it the primary goal? No. Honoring him is the primary goal, but it's something that I believe from the bottom of my heart that church growth matters. It's important to God. It should be important to us as well. So that's my little bit of a rant, but Frank Soros, I appreciate your comment on that. What do you have to add, Ian?
Well, you did rant a little bit, but I do have a little to add. I agree there's a balance to it. I mean, I think that if what Frank may be thinking, if that is the only goal for a church, you're right, it's prideful, but there's plenty of biblical references to growth. And like you said, the book of Acts, I think of, and just, having a couple of thousand people being added and they're present, and that's church as well. And so I think, though, that you always have to put God first in it. But he did say, go and make disciples. That does speak to going and attracting, bringing people to God for sure. So, so not much more to add other than that. But this next one, too, different subject, but a good one. And this person, Joshua Harris, 1739, said,
Joshua Harris? From
Maybe.
I Kiss Dating Goodbye fame? No, I couldn't be.
Oh.
Must be a different Joshua Harris.
Probably. So
he's no longer following Jesus. He's a fully deconstructed Christian now. So anyway, go on.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That many will get that. How would you bridge the gap on for giving online, rather? I serve an older congregation, and they're opposed to it. Not something I hear all too often now. But the younger generation does not have checks or carry cash anymore to give traditionally. What's the best way to handle this situation?
Good question. Yeah, I don't encounter that very much anymore, where churches are literally opposed to it.
I was surprised to see this. Yeah,
I felt like COVID basically weeded all those out. Because it's one thing in 2019 to be opposed to online giving, but then when you can't actually have church services, a lot of that, strong feelings of not giving online kind of withered when that happened, because we needed to still figure something out with that. I can see people's arguments, and you can see in Scripture that obviously online giving never takes place in the Bible, and people do give a physical gift. But I think that's just a matter of our times.
Right.
I hope that I think you have to navigate the opposition to it. I think that's something you'll have to address. You can't just kind of let that sit, I think, from a pastoral perspective. If people came to me and said, as a pastor at my church, Thomas, if they said, I do not like that we do online giving, I think we should stop. We're not going to do that, right? So, because I think that it is something that's valuable, and I think it needs to be addressed as to understanding the why behind that. And my guess is it's probably something to the effect of, it's not in the Bible. Right. But, there's tons of things we do in modern church that is not explicitly in the Bible. But I think that the precedent of being able to give in convenient ways are things that would have been celebrated at that time if that was there. So I think I think you'd need to address that. What is the root cause behind those kinds of things?
Right.
So it sounds like you already understand the importance of that. I think that it's not a hill I would die on. I did a video, I can link to that up here, where I said for most churches, it's time to stop passing the plate. So moving away from that is something that I recommend for most churches.
Yeah.
But it's not a hill I would die on that says you have to do this if you're going to be managing your church well. But what I would do, and what I do at my church, is that we are a church where the majority of our donations happen online, but the majority of our giving, like the total amount, comes in via check still. So what I'm saying is online is smaller donations on average. Our largest givers are generally older in our church, and they still like to give via check. So right now it's about 60-40 on each side. So 60% of our gifts are online, but 60% of our total amount is coming in via check. So that's kind of our rough numbers. When I get up there and talk about giving, I am talking about it, and I'm spending most of my time talking about online giving, but I'm also making mention of more standard traditional ways of giving via check or putting it in the box or when a plate goes by, that kind of stuff. So that would be my recommendation, is start to slowly pivot in your language around it. Don't stop mentioning it, but just saying, make it, once you've had that conversation and you start online giving, just teach people about it. Teach how it's not demonic to do these kinds of things. How it's not wrong to be giving online. You can be just as faithfully stewarding finances. It can just as a worshipful experience to do it on your phone while you're sitting there, as opposed to writing it out in a checkbook while you're doing that. People, I will say, there is no evidence of people giving checks in the Bible either. There were no IOUs dropped in. It was only coin giving that took place in the New Testament, at least it seems like. So,
anyway, personal belongings and so many other things. No, and I what I hear, Thomas, I don't hear this too often anymore as an objection that a church would have, but I have heard the concern that, it takes away from the worship aspect of giving. Well, let me just say that, like you just said, for years, like yourself, I have given online, tithed online, done offerings online, and I will literally sit and pray when I do it. Before I click give on my church's website, I will pray, and I will pray that it goes towards the leading of souls to the kingdom and the discipleship of souls to the kingdom, and that my church is good stewards with it. And that is most certainly a part of my worship. And I will also say this. It's biblical. The word says to give your first fruits. Well, when I get paid, I can jump online, and before I go buy lunch somewhere or whatever, the Lord gets his first fruits. So I will just say, for me, it's enhanced the experience. So personally, that might help someone out there too.
Yeah, awesome. Good stuff.
Yeah. So next one here we have from @JohnChandler8184. What does a very small church, 15 members, really need in their website? We don't have a youth ministry or a worship team, just a small group singing and true Bible preaching, which is our focus.
That's a good question, because I think we run into this. We help small churches all the time here at ReachRight. Yeah. And we do church plants and those things. I think it's similar to what a church plant would do. And really it's a different focus when you're at that kind of a point. I think if you're under 50 or so people, your website has to be a different focus. So as far as look and feel, you still want the same thing, which is people caught in the act, living out the values of your church. That's the photography, that's the video that you want, that's the kind of stuff that's going to be on there. But what you can't do is you can't deceive people into thinking that you're a much different church than who you actually are. So you're not going to have pictures of children's ministry with dozens of kids. Right. Like, you don't use stock photos like that.
Don't do that. Yeah.
You're not going to talk about youth ministry that you don't have. You just have to be honest with it. And so at that point, I think what it is, it's primarily encouraging people and getting them to catch the vision that you have for the church. So I think it's going to be done via video in most cases, but it can also be text. But just really kind of thinking out, what are we doing as a church? Why do we exist? What are our priorities? Where do we see our church? Helping people kind of take those steps to kind of paint the picture of where our church, if it's not there today, where are we going to be in 2 years? Do we want to be the kind of church that has ministries for young people? And are we reaching our community? And are we serving the poor? And what kind of impact are we going to be making? So it's almost like when we work with church plants, we do what's called a pre-launch site a lot of times, which is more about helping churches connect with people and build the core team. And I think up to about 40 or 50 people, that's kind of the focus of any church website at that point, is kind of casting the vision and helping people take a step and say, yeah, I want to know more about joining this team and where this church is going and being a part of it.
And I do like that this person, John Chandler, 8184, said that they're a small group of people singing and just enjoying true Bible preaching. You can also, if that's what you're doing well, that's going to be appealing to people. Make sure that whatever your strong suits are, put that out there. And it's everything else you said, Thomas. But one thing I would also say is you want to be very careful to not appear that you have a big kids and youth ministry, but you can cast vision for it. You could say that you are a church that is for the next generation. And while you may not be there yet, come grow with us for that, And so you can, and that's sometimes half the battle is even if you don't have a big kids ministry or youth ministry, you still want to let families know that they're welcome to come. But just obviously be very honest about it, but cast some vision for it too. There's nothing wrong with that, I would say. So
I'd say this as we kind of put a bow on this one. I think it's a bigger question than just the website, right? So I think that this is something that so many churches fall into, this trap that like, if I want to see our church grow, which we've already acknowledged we believe in, then I need to offer all the stuff that the mega church down the street offers in order to compete with that church, right?
You don't have to.
So you can't. Like you're not.
You can't. You don't have to. Not everyone's looking for that too.
Right. Yeah. And I think that what you can do is probably one or maybe two things, like they described, very well. Like teach the Bible and have authentic worship. Do those things well and capture people doing it on your website, whether it be having your sermons on there or photography of it or worship, whatever it would be. Having that on your website tells the story. But really, that's the fundamental problem I see so many church plants fall into, is trying to be like the mega church down the street. And really, that's not your assignment, at least not right now. So do what you're able to do really well. That'd be my encouragement.
Good stuff. So next one here comes from Jimmy Casey 6400. This was in response to our Google ad grant post that we put out there a bit ago. But they asked, do you have to hire someone to manage this grant, or can I do it myself?
Yeah, good question. So this is talking about the Google ad grant. And if you don't know, Google gives nonprofits, and that includes churches, $10,000 every month to spend on the Google ad grant. And I will say, I want to clarify, it's up to $10,000 a month. They do not guarantee you $10,000 a month.
Right.
In fact, it's very challenging to spend all $10,000 a month for a small church, I would say. But the question is, like, does it make sense to manage that himself, or does it make sense to hire somebody to do it? So disclosure, we are a company you could hire to do it. That's something that we do. We've been doing it for almost a decade now, helping churches manage the Google ad grant and spending Google's money. So this is a tough one because, like, we at ReachRight, we offer it as a service, but our business model and what we've always done is that we just try to give away every bit of knowledge that we have. And we don't, I honestly say this beyond a shadow of a doubt, we don't hold anything back. We don't have like some trade secrets that we won't tell you that we do secretly on the Google ad grant accounts that we won't tell you because we don't want you to thrive. Like, we give away all of our secrets. We'll tell you everything we know. If you spend an hour or two watching our content, like, you can get a lot of tips and tricks. But all of that being said, I think it still makes sense to hire somebody to do it for you because it is a lot of work and it takes a lot of expertise and a lot of trial and error to figure it out. And I think your time as a pastor is more valuable than what a company like ours would charge to do it. Now, I will say this. So the prices are all over the map on this. So some companies, like if you just went especially to a secular company and said, could you manage my Google Ads account? You're probably looking at something like $2,000 a month to manage a $10,000 spend. And so for small churches, that's just out of the question. For us, it's a setup fee of, no setup fee, it's $297 a month. And to manage it well, I think it probably takes someone who's just learning this and getting going probably 10 to 15 hours a week. So we're talking about, like, if we say 10 hours a week to be conservative, that's something like 40 hours a month. So that's something like $8 an hour you'd be doing. And you have to really
See
ask
if a
yourself,
volunteer has time for that. Yes.
yeah, do you as a pastor or
Or a
someone
ministry
in your
leader. Yeah.
church have the ability to do that? Or does it make sense to hire somebody who is an expert at it, who knows how to do it, who will almost certainly get you better results in less time? Does it make sense to hire somebody like that? I'd say, for me at least, in my church, and I think even when I was pastoring small churches and planting churches, yes, it makes sense to hire somebody to do that. And should you hire someone to do that, it's kind of a no-brainer to me too, because it's up to $10,000. So, even if you only spend $4,000 or $5,000 of those dollars, you're spending $297 to get $4,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 of free advertising. That is a stewardship question there, and I think it's something that I would absolutely do. So we give you these resources. If you want to do it, please do try it. I really encourage churches to do it. We want to see more people taking advantage of this. But I think for the vast majority, it makes sense to hire ReachRight and have us do it for you. Ian, I know you talk to pastors every day about this, so what do you have to add?
Well, you covered most of it, Thomas. I think that even if a pastor realizes they have someone savvy and could learn it, usually that person, from what I always hear, is spread thin, or they wear other hats. And then also just, I do come across the occasional person that has Google Ads experience in the secular arena. This grant's a lot different. And even I will have people that come to hire us here at ReachRight that have experience in paid ads, but don't want to manage the grant. So I'll say that it's Google has certain rules, policies, procedures, things, because it is a grant that are different than just someone who's done Google Ads in the business arena. So that's another thing to consider with that as well. So
but, a couple of notes. I'll leave 2 links down below. One is, if you don't know about the grant, we have a really simple eligibility checker you can use down below. So click on that, see if you're eligible. Everybody should be taking advantage of it, whether you hire us or you do it yourself. Use it. It's $10,000 a month up to that you can claim there. And then also, if you want us to help you, I'll have another link down there where you can kind of get a conversation started on that and see what it would look like to work with ReachRight. We don't hide anything. It's all on our website. It's $297 a month. We should probably acknowledge, Ian, that you can't use the $10,000 to pay us the $297, right? So
we should get that question a lot, and we wish Google they're generous with this grant. They're not that generous. So
they don't give you cash. They give you up to $10,000 a month in free ads on their platform. You have to actually pay real people to do their service, to manage it for you if you hire someone to do it. But if you want to engage us in a relationship like that, you can use the link in the description.
Use the link, and then unfortunately you'll have to talk to me, but I promise I'm nice and I won't bite. So there you go.
There you go.
So, but good. So our last one here from at Masuta Montoruri. I butchered that. I tried though. And they basically are asking, in regards to a social media platform for churches and a post we put out on that, what about Spotify as a social media platform?
Okay, so I love Spotify for churches. We've done content on that and how churches can be using Spotify. I don't really see it as a social media platform for churches. I know I know there's some social components. I know there's comments. I know you can, what do you call it, like a jam session? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, you can join in on someone's listening session and have multiple people listening to the same stuff. I haven't really done that, even though I use Spotify almost every day.
So I like, we probably do. We probably, the last time we did a Spotify video was a couple of years ago now. A couple of things I like Spotify for churches is, I think you should make a church worship playlist. So if your church has a playlist of all the songs you do in your worship, and not your versions of them, but you could if you guys are putting it on Spotify. But I think, just the actual recording version of it, it's really cool to be able to share that. I think I've seen churches share that content on other social platforms, like as a precursor on Saturday before service, say, hey, we're really looking forward to worshiping with you. Here's here's the set list to get you excited. That kind of stuff. I've seen that. That's cool. I also have embedded Spotify players on websites before. I've done this on my website, where we have our our top 10 worship songs that we really love to give people a feel of the music that we do before they come for the first time. So we'll have this on our before you visit, or kind of a I'm new here page, having a little bit of our worship music on there. I think that's a good use for it. But as far as a social media platform, I haven't seen and I guess I haven't seen any churches with a lot of engagement happening on there. And then I also haven't seen it as a tool to introduce new people to your church,
right?
Unless you're Hillsong or Elevation or Bethel or one of those churches, then I guess, it's definitely introducing people to their churches, because you think of their worship when you think of those churches there. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. I don't know. What do you have to add to that, Ian?
I would just love to hear if correct us if we're wrong, if a church is using it differently than what you just shared, Thomas. I would, and maybe it'll change. Maybe as Spotify grows and evolves and everything, maybe there will be some more interaction there. But other than kind of listening to the same thing that other people are listening to at a certain time or whatever, I haven't seen there be much opportunity for it. But it most certainly, you can find biblical content there. I love at the gym or on a run, I use it. But not for a church social media platform as of yet. So
we should say this, I think, as a disclaimer. This is how a lot of social things work for us, though. Where we'll say, you could probably find us saying things early in our podcast about how churches have no business on TikTok because it's just for dance videos and that kind of stuff, right? And so
then all of a sudden.
Right, and then it changes, right? So it very well could be that if you're watching this in the future, that Spotify is something that does have a real social component, that there is a good use case for it. So thanks, Ian, for mentioning that. We should, if you do have an idea on how to use it, let us know. Good stuff, man. Hey, I want to reach out again to our ReachRight family and say, if you have any comments, drop them in this episode or any of our other videos, any place else where you engage with ReachRight content. We love to have these conversations. I'm sorry again to Frank Soros for butchering his name. Sorry about that. I'll try not to do that. That wasn't done.
Maybe he likes it. Maybe it'll be a cool new nickname for his family to call him, Frankosaurus.
Yeah, that's it. So, but anyway, guys, thanks for being part of the ReachRight family, and leave us a comment with your question. Maybe we'll tackle it on the next episode, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.